Oh, I can't reach that.
But everyone loves it when you point at the thing on the board. Back at Singapore's Changi Airport, Singapore. I think I'm emphasising my syllables. Singapore's Terminal 1 here at Changi Airport. Jumping on board another flight today, back on Jetstar. I want to give you my real thoughts on Jetstar. When we flew here about 10 days ago, originally on the flight out from Melbourne to Singapore, we flew on Jetstar's business class. We're doing the same thing today, back on a 787 Dreamliner, heading home to Melbourne. And in the last video that I made, which I'll link above, I did talk about business class in a fair amount of detail, and I don't want to go over the same content today, but what I want to focus on today instead is really the pricing question, the value question. So, do I think you get what you pay for when you pay for Jetstar Business Class? Because of course Jetstar's Business Class, it's a different offering. It's not the same. You can't really compare it fairly to like Qantas Business Class or Cathay or Singapore Airlines or another carrier that you might be flying in and out of Singapore. You have to look at Jetstar's Business Class in its own right. So look, here's the thing, and I think this is a very important clarification. I think business class represents really the seat and the cabin and the environment you're sitting in. I personally don't really worry that much about the food because, yeah, sometimes I'll eat the food, sometimes I won't. I think the service is very important as well, and that does come into it. But for me, what you pay for when you're paying for business class is you're paying for the seat, the space, the comfort, the fact that you're hopefully going to arrive a little bit more rested and a little bit more relaxed when you get to your destination at the other end. Now, one of the advantages of flying Jetstar through Singapore, if you are a Qantas frequent flyer and you've got the right status tier, you can use the Qantas Lounge here at Singapore Airport. And I actually think the Qantas Lounge here at Changi is, out of them all, it's probably my favourite lounge here at the airport. British Airways on one side, Qantas is next to it, Thai is over there, there's the SATS Lounge as well. Special Services Lounge, I don't know what that is. It sounds kind of cool, but I don't think we can get in there to check it out. One other tip as well, remember when you're travelling through Changi Airport, the security is actually on the gates, so you don't pass through security when you come into the main airport, you actually do it on the individual gates. At least in this Terminal T1 you do, so give yourself plenty of time just to get through that extra security when you get to the gates. Unlike what we've done, which is give ourselves very little time.
I will put my phone back on the other side.
10 days. Hi, have you taken a look through the menu?
So when you sit down, before you take off, we are actually going to try some of the food on board today. You get a pretty basic menu for a couple of different food options.
Well, you kind of have three options with Jetstar. One's that's like more of a light option, which is a tuna vegetable salad. I'm a big fan of veggies and salads on planes because no one really needs heavy food. Then there's an oriental pork and a bean curd and cashew sauce, which coming from Singapore, you'd probably expect a couple of options like that. So one veggie, one meat, one salad. I actually think that's not a bad mix.
Off we go then, our 7.5 hour flight to destination. I just wanted to talk about the chair. quickly. This is something that I did cover in the last video in terms of the chair. It's a reclining chair, it's not a flatbed. There's a little footrest that comes out the bottom as well. You've got in-seat USB power, laptop power as well. And as I said before in the last video, I think if you sit at the front, it's the best. Row 3 is probably second best, row 2. The business class seat here is a little bit wider than the seat you get in economy. So this is 19 inches wide. In economy, it's 17 inches. And then the seat pitch, the all-important, that's the thing that most people measure, you know, how big is the seat on an aircraft. The seat pitch, the distance from the seat in front to the seat that you're in. In business here, it's 38 inches, 30 in economy class. So look, there's a lot more room than you would get in the economy cabin. Of course there is. But when you compare that to some other carriers and the fact that the seat in front of you can recline into you, that's where it starts to get a little bit cramped on these flights, especially at night time when pretty much everybody is going to be reclining their seats. Okay, so I'll let you into just a little secret. After I filmed that last sequence, I basically closed my eyes and fell asleep and woke up just as we were coming in to descend into Melbourne. So the rest of this video will be completed back here in Melbourne. Just before finishing up on Jetstar, I posted this on Instagram and I got a lot of feedback actually agreeing with me, but I honestly reckon that Singapore to Melbourne flight, it leaves at night time, so it leaves at, our flight was at 8 o'clock in the evening. It's a 7.5 hour flight, so with takeoff and a food service and then descent and everything, you probably only get about 4 to 5 hours sleep maximum. You land at 6:30 in the morning. That is one of the most brutal flights I reckon you can do. It's hard enough for passengers, for the crew, you know, the flight crew and the cabin crew. That is a brutal flight. So hats off to anyone who works the Melbourne to Singapore legs. That return flight from Melbourne to Singapore on the 787 Dreamliner with Jetstar, that cost us $1,600 each return. Now, as an equivalent fare, if you want to fly something like Qantas Business Class for the same leg, it's going to cost you around $3,500 in business class. There is a sale that's currently on, which I saw, Singapore Melbourne return, and that's $2,900 on Qantas. That's pretty much the cheapest I've really seen business class on Qantas before. So it's basically half price what you'd pay on another traditional business class carrier. So does that mean it's worth it? Well, as I said at the beginning of the video, for me, it comes down to what do you define business class? And I actually think that Jetstar should really be terming what they offer kind of a premium economy experience. It's not really business class, in my opinion, when you have seats which can recline into you, when you have a configuration where if you're sitting in the middle of that middle row, you have to ask the people next to you to move to get up if people are reclining. At night time, you can't fully put your bed flat. You can only lean backwards a little bit more. And look, yes, you get the extra width, you get the extra pitch, you get leg room, there's the food service. Of course, there are those benefits. But is it a business class? I don't think so. I think it's a well-priced premium economy, but in terms of a business class offering, I really don't think it stacks up. Don't forget the add-ons you can do here. Jetstar do have something called their Max Bundle, where you can pay higher than the standard base price, and then you can get things like lounge access. If you're not a Qantas frequent flyer status high enough to get lounge access, you can pay to get that. That will also give you Qantas frequent flyer status credits. So Jetstar Business is actually quite a smart way if you're doing a status credit run to buy a low base fare, add the Max Bundle on top, and go away for a nice holiday somewhere with not too expensive a ticket and earn Qantas frequent flyer status credits at the same time. I have to comment on the crew on Jetstar as well, the Asian-based crew, which I think most of them are now for Jetstar operating out of Australia, were excellent. They were really friendly, very helpful to us. My daughter was traveling with us, as you saw. She didn't really want to eat anything off the main menu, so they made a toasty, like a cheese and ham toasty for her. And the other benefits you get, don't forget, you get priority boarding on the aircraft when you do buy a business class fare, and you do get to use the business class check-in, which is a dedicated area at Changi Airport. There are kiosks for regular check-in, but then there's also kiosks for business class check-in. There are then automated bag drop areas for business, so you do get to move through the airport a little bit quicker as well. So what do you think? Have you flown Jetstar business class before? Would you never fly it ever again? Have you flown economy with Jetstar but you'd like to try business? Let me know your thoughts on the Jetstar Jetstar product. Tell me what you think. Okay, coming up next in the channel in the next few weeks, back to air traffic control again. I've got another exclusive behind the scenes visit to air traffic control to an airport we've not been to yet. More general aviation flying in the Cirrus SR22 and drone regulations. They're changing. That's the next video on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Give us a like if you enjoyed this video. Do click subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'm really sleep deprived. I've got to get some sleep. Otherwise,